Well, 22-17, Kansas City Chiefs beat the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday Night Football. Kent Swanson here with Matthew Lane after a very Chiefsy game here. Chiefs survive and advance to 3-0. They just win, baby. Another win on the books, Matthew.
Yeah, that's another win. It doesn't matter how it happens. All that matters is that that one goes into the win column, and therefore the Chiefs are 3-0. There's some good in this game. There's some less than stellar and things like that. But hey, Chiefs got another win. Chiefs come up big when it matters, like they just have continued to do over the past 5 years. So, what else can we really complain about?
No, this is the least favorite version of a Chiefs game that I like watching. It's less than a touchdown or less than a field goal, and the Chiefs get the ball on offense with 4 minutes left, and they go 3 and out, and they punt, and then the defense has to bail them out. It feels like this happens a lot, but this is the kind of defensive DNA that this team has. They come up in these big situations. Steve Spagnuolo is the exact kind of defensive coordinator that you want in these kind of situations as well. He was, I think, largely outstanding for the day, holding the Atlanta Falcons to 17 points after a very rough opening possession. Very good performance from them bouncing back. A lot to talk about in this game. But yeah, I think it's ultimately, hey, look, the Chiefs win the football game. They go on the road. They beat a very salty Atlanta Falcons team who I think we're going to find out's pretty good. I think they're going to win some football games out there in the NFC. Matthew's like, I don't know. I think this team can win the NFC South still. So I do think that was good. But yeah, man, lots to talk about. Where do you want to go off the top?
I mean, I think you start with the defense here. You start with the defense. The defense gets this done. Outside, I guess, like really the final two Falcons drive possessions, it really felt like the Chiefs defense had settled in, and now I know there was some injuries to the Falcons offensive line, but it felt like they weren't really accomplishing like anything at all. The defense found its footing. They were pulling all the right levers, hitting all the right buttons, and it just felt like the Falcons didn't have a lot of juice going on there in the middle section of this game, and it was the Chiefs felt like they should have been pulling away, and they weren't because of their own mistakes and inability on the offensive side to finish drives. But the defense played really well. 17 points to the Falcons, given the injuries, maybe doesn't look like it. You go look at the stats on paper, it's not going to say that necessarily. But I thought overall the defense played pretty good. And then you get the big stop there on the fourth down to win the game, of course.
Yeah. The last points that the Atlanta Falcons scored, I believe, were in the third quarter. So I think they got shut out for the entirety.
Yes.
No, wait, no, it was early in the fourth quarter. Sorry, 13 minutes left in the game. So the last 13 minutes of the game, the Atlanta Falcons are shut out. And we're not going to shut out our guy, Geoff Schwartz, any longer. We have him jumping on at 11:30 Geoff Schwartz time. Jeff, man, how we doing, man?
The hair. I'm doing good. I'm getting ready for UCLA Oregon next week that kicks off at 11 p.m. Eastern. So I have to start getting my tell you what, man, that is just the perfect Chiefs game of the regular season, right? Where like they're so clearly better than the Falcons. The Falcons offense line has issues. Mahomes plays a first half not very good. They run the ball pretty well, but then in the red zone just do the dumb Chief stuff they always do. And then, find a way to make enough plays at the end to win. And then, like Mahomes takes a knee and looks like he hurt himself. Like I don't like, it's just like they do this stuff that it's remarkable sometimes that they win as many games as they do. They just do the craziest stuff sometimes. I don't understand how to explain it otherwise.
Yeah, that version of we've seen that particular Chiefs game so many times over the last 6 years. It's like, hey, less than a touchdown, 4 minutes left. Gotta try to ice the game with your 4-minute offense, and maybe don't have to punt. And then the defense has to come out. Spags has to bail you out, and I mean they did. I mean the defense played great closing that that last possession out. Geoff, I saw your tweet saying you're going to take everything back that you said about Nick Bolton over the last couple weeks after that play. That was a great play by Bolton. That was a great play by that entire Chiefs defense there.
Look, the play really was from the defensive lineman, right? So they, in that situation, the offensive line tries to get the linebacker. You really, to be honest, you don't have enough guys as an offensive line to get there. So you have to hope that if you push the defensive line back off the ball, or at least go vertically, horizontally, I should say, then you try to run that linebacker into the block and get enough to get a yard. All you need is a yard. Well, if you watch that, I mean, they just locked out the left guard and right guard. The left guard, left tackle, and the edge guys. I don't know who was on the edge. Sort of forced that back as well, kind of bookended it, and Bolton was able to sneak through that gap. Otherwise, again, like there's no one to account for him. That happens on sort of these short yardage goal line runs where he's accounted for technically in like the blocking scheme, but you don't get to him, just to the alignment of the Chiefs defense. And so the way to get around that obviously is either the back has to make him miss, which is that's life of a running back in the situations, or you push those guys back. But I thought the Chiefs defensive line, it felt like they took the Falcons run game personally this week. And Collinsworth mentioned this a lot. Like it just seemed like they were, and again, they don't have to do this every week, in my opinion, but it was like they took it personally. Like they were not going to let the Falcons run game beat them this week, which the Falcons did the last couple of weeks. And they made Cousins do it himself. And look, obviously the Falcons offensive line injuries were beneficial to the Chiefs. I mean, that certainly helps. But I thought the defense played really well. I thought it was a good performance from them.
And specifically on like the run defense, they mentioned it multiple times in the broadcast, but the Chiefs spent a lot of time focusing on the Falcons' outside zone stuff. And that's kind of what they try to run there on the 4th down. And I mean, they held Bijan Robinson to under 2 yards per carry. So that is clearly what their defensive game plan was. I think we even saw it on the very first play. George Karlaftis dives down so hard from the backside of the run fake, and they give the little bootleg to Kirk Cousins coming out of the backside of it. And so that was clearly a goal they had in mind. It paid dividends from the first quarter all the way to the end. So it was nice to see, like you said, Geoff, like this Chiefs run defense step up when they need to, and then having all these different linebackers, all these different defensive linemen making plays. If Tershawn Wharton's going to play like this all year versus run in the pass, that Chiefs defensive line looks a lot scarier. They have some other guys next to Chris Jones now.
Absolutely. And then, I think Karlaftis does enough, right? But I'm watching that play right now, the final play of the game. I just saw a tweet pop up. I mean, the Chiefs defensive line freaking dominated the Falcons on this play. And that was a good side of the Falcons, right? That was the left side of their offensive line. Yep. So it was a good performance from the defense. I thought, look, those penalties obviously stunk. The Jones one I get from the referee's perspective. The play was gone. He kind of yanked it to the ground a little bit there. It's going to happen. But I was impressed with what the defense did there.
Mike, it was Mike Pinnell that really got a good push up front, but also it was Leo Chanel up front too. Yeah. Playing there and making a good wash on that short yardage play. 23 carries, 63 yards total for Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson combined on the night. Like that's one
fantastic.
Of the that's one of the huge stories. I think they made him pretty one-dimensional. That allowed Spags to get after Kirk. Like they were pressuring Kirk a lot. They were testing that mobility a little bit, the decision-making quick. And honestly, I didn't think Kirk Cousins had a ton of answers for that pressure until he really kind of started peppering some of those out routes. I thought kind of later in the game, they were giving up some out routes like, to Drake London late in the game. But I mean, I think largely, I think it was a really strong performance from C. Spagnuolo for the entirety of the game.
And, I like your point about, right, like you have an immobile quarterback, let's just pressure the heck out of him. Let's just run guys best we can at his feet, at his legs. Obviously, I'm not saying you should hit him on the lower part of the body. That's illegal, not allowed. We saw Darnold today, luckily, kind of walk away from one of those bad hits, but just get people around his legs, right? Just have him feeling that there's people running toward him. And they did a good job. And you're right. I thought Cousins was fine. I mean, I don't think he missed many throws in this game. There just weren't as many guys open. And look, the Chiefs have done a good job sort of without Snead, right? We figured like who was the next guy up and who was – McDuffie obviously is incredible. but they sort of pieced together enough guys to play man coverage. Because look, you're gonna play man coverage a bunch when you pressure the way the Chiefs do, because you want to tie that up, right? Like if you play man coverage with pressure, if you're able to do so, man coverage typically the ball takes longer to get out because you're sticking to the wide receiver and allows the pressure to get home, right? If you play zone behind pressure, which you totally can, there's more holes in the defense as the players are moving to their zone, and good quarterbacks, including Patrick Mahomes, can find those holes, right? So, if you can play man coverage and pressure at the same time, that's you get the win-win. The Chiefs do that, right? They play man coverage, they pressure, and they did a good job tonight. A couple deep passes. I mean, that's the NFL. That happens. But I thought the pass defense continues sort of each week, maybe play better than I thought they would when losing Snead.
No, for sure. And like with the emphasis on the run game, like I think you end up getting some unfavorable matchups or just like out leverage in the passing game. And I think the Falcons, as the game went on, took some advantage of that. So let's flip over to the offensive side of the ball. We have, the big thing here is we have a change on the offensive line. So we got you here, Geoff. What did you think just on the initial watching of Wanya Morris and what you saw of him out at the left tackle spot?
I thought he looked really good. Collinsworth did that little montage. And the fun thing about when they showed him is like, you can just see how like technical the game is, how like just the punching and like the physicality of it, because they were zoomed in on him. He was one-on-one. You can see the Chiefs don't want to help their tackles, man. Like it changes the offense when they have to do that. I thought he did really well. There was a one short corner that Mahomes was able to sort of spin out and throw that ball. That was his worst one of the day. I thought he did well. I was surprised, I'm not gonna lie, that Kingsley was benched. I thought they let him work through it, which is what he's done in the past. But I was thinking back to Eric Fisher when I was there in 2013. He tried to play Fisher as much as possible, but there were times when he sort of just took him out to get a little bit of head, just get your head reset, right, and get your confidence back. So that's probably what this was about. I don't think this is a long-term thing, but if Wanya keeps playing well, Andy Reid is very much like this way, man. He will keep guys in that are playing well. It's why people will say, well, sometimes like who's the Chiefs' fantasy running back? I don't know. Who's ever playing best that day? Like, he doesn't care, right? That's what Andy Reid has always done. So I really think that that was a good job by Wanya, and he'll keep playing until he won't play. Look, this will be a good test this weekend because I think it's the Chargers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They both said I don't think he played much today. I think he got hurt again, but
he got hurt again.
Mac is good, so it'll be another test for him.
And, you could make an argument that throwing Kingsley back out there in a road game on Sunday Night Football in a ruckus Atlanta crowd, like you could make the argument that maybe you don't want to just throw him right back to the fire in that particular situation. I'll hear that argument if you want. But yeah, I thought Wanya did some good stuff. Ultimately, I think it's whatever makes Patrick Mahomes feel, comfortable too. I think there's been a little bit of lack of comfort at times with some of the, protection, maybe unfounded, I think at times too, candidly. There has been definitely some issues there, obviously at the left tackle spot, but some uncharacteristic mistakes, I think, and some missed throws in this game. We're starting to see some of those piling up a little bit more than we're used to in Kansas City. What were your thoughts on that, Geoff?
So look, Mahomes just wasn't sharp early on. It was kind of simple on that. So I've maintained this for a little bit now, and I've said this on your show, I think, on other places. Like, I think this is Kelce's last season. I felt that way for a long time. And it feels like they're trying to sort of, I'm not saying not have Kelce in the field, but begin the process of sort of finding an offense without him, right? And I think you saw the start of the second half, like you can always sort of go back to Travis Kelce. But I think they're trying to find a way to move the ball down the field without relying so much on him. And I think at halftime, Mahomes had 8 different targets, and Rice is clearly becoming his number one, but Juju can catch the ball too, right? You're trying to find Xavier Worthy is, I think the Bengals cornerback said this, right? Like he's just mostly running go routes right now. He's not going to run a lot of technical routes. And so, but I think they're trying to find sort of a post Kelce offense. And then when it's available and needed, like start second half, you can find Kelce. Like he's always going to be there. And the goal is getting to the postseason with Kelce healthy. And in the postseason, they'll find a way to get him the ball. Like, that's not a surprise, right? But even last year, like I remember that I was at the Buffalo game, and he'd run a deep route and then go out for 2 or 3 plays. Like he's not an every down player anymore. And so I like that they're trying to find new targets for Mahomes, but they know that they can always kind of get back to Kelce. the second half, I thought Mahomes was great. The first half, that the interception throw was just sloppy. I mean, he should have just driven the ball. He should have just gone up in the pocket and thrown that ball. Instead, he threw off his back foot and kind of floated up there. So it's 3 bad picks now in 3 games where, one other thing too is I thought the offensive line kind of took it on themselves to help Carson Steele out. Like there was a lot of movement in that offensive line, which because he runs so hard. He's a different runner. Steele's not a guy that is going to dance. Like he's going to go straight ahead. So you got to give him a defined area to run. And I thought that the Chiefs offensive line, especially inside, did a really good job. The Falcons defensive line is not great, but I think the Chiefs interior is playing really good through 3 games. Like Trey Smith is sort of taking it to another level, which is really interesting because I don't think the Chiefs are going to have both of those guards next season. So I'm kind of curious what happens if Trey keeps playing this well.
Yeah, no, and last couple things here before we let you get on out of here. I mean, we mentioned it there. The Chiefs are trying to find like a new identity that's not Travis Kelce. And we saw in this game, it was a lot of Rashee Rice. But then as we've seen the past 2 weeks, teams are going to continue to play the Chiefs with some very soft, shells over the top on defense. We saw the Bengals do it all game. We saw the Falcons do it. Yeah, Worthy might be running mostly go routes, but he's got some respect from defenses already, despite not really connecting on them. So there is all this space in the run game. And I thought you made a great point. Like Carson Steele is getting downhill. This Chiefs offensive line this year does seem like, I know they're still running, the relatively 50-50 zone and gap stuff, but they just seem to be a little bit more physical, leaning on guys a little bit more. Even their zone runs seem to be coming downhill a little bit more. I don't know if you've noticed any differences in their run games, not just like the play calls, but the demeanor or anything that you've seen during this whole process.
I think that they are just trying to create more blunt force up the field. Like they're just trying to move up the field as fast as possible and get those double teams. Like it's less, to me, we've seen less side to side, which I thought some of the Chiefs shotgun runs over the years, the side to side stuff has been really bad. I don't even know how I'm connected anymore. I like what they're doing now.
I think it's been better. Do you think that I think they're they're a lot more intentional downhill inside runs with Carson Steele. I think Matt was talking about that a little bit more this game. Do you think that they can sustain kind of running B gap to B gap, or do you think that they're going to have to mix some stuff up in Pacheco's absence, or can they keep getting away with that?
Well, look, you just don't have runners that are getting to the edge unless you sign someone else. So the way you have to combat that is fly sweeps, right? Reverses, which they ran a reverse in this game. Like you have to find ways to keep, and even it might even include bootlegs and just sort of ways to get Mahomes at that backside defender to really sort of stay home. And look, the RPO stuff, right? If there's too many guys in the box, you throw behind those guys. So there's ways to do. But look, the Chiefs mostly run sort of, they spread things out. Hand the ball off inside. Like you're going to get good boxes. They're not going to run into a bad box very often.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. And Geoff, we really appreciate your time with us tonight, my man. Go get some sleep, or I know if you're on that schedule trying to get ready for next week, by all means,
gotta practice.
It's 11:39. 11:46. I'll probably be snoring away. So thanks for having me on, guys. I'll talk to you next week.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you, Geoff. Have a good one.
That is Geoff Schwartz. Thank you to him for coming and hanging out with us. We're gonna take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNpost. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNPOST. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNpost. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Chiefs win 22-17 in Atlanta in a very tough game on Sunday Night Football. A very fired up football team that had 2 of the big Chiefs killers in the secondary, Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates. Justin Simmons does get one of those interceptions on Mahomes yet again. That's 6 for him in his career. No one else has 2 or more than 2. Mahomes to NBC right after the game. We've been in these moments before, and we're trying not to do it every week. Well,
you're not doing a great job of that. Holy!
I mean that game is a very atypical version of a Chiefs game where you feel like this team should be up a lot more. They should be up a lot more, and they can't close things out offensively. They struggled, and the defense comes and bails them out.
The Chiefs got the ball back in the second half. The score was 16-14, but I had no idea what the score was. The Chiefs made a defensive stop. It felt like the Falcons had done nothing, and the Chiefs, when they weren't throwing bad interceptions, were kind of doing whatever they wanted. And I was thinking in my head, oh, touchdown here ends the game. And then I saw the score. I was like, wait, the Chiefs are only up by 2? Like, this game felt like the Chiefs were the much better team. Now, it got a little tighter in the fourth quarter. I think the Falcons started to put a couple drives together and stuff like that. But it felt like the Chiefs were definitely the better team. And then it just got closer and closer as the game went on till the point where they needed that fourth down stop. A win's a win. There's no reason to be upset by it. I think if I'm looking at the grand scheme of things, and even on the offensive side, I think this was a better performance than last week versus Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes.
They ran the ball a little bit better, right? Carson Steele getting downhill, and they still didn't have any explosive runs, but it just seemed like it was a little bit more consistent. It seemed like they were falling forward for a little bit more. The passing game at least pushed the ball downfield into good looks. There was bad throws to Worthy in the first quarter, followed by the interception to Noah Gray, on attempting to Noah Gray. So I thought the offense took a step forward. It looked a little bit better, but yeah, there's still plenty of stuff to clean up. And this is why if you're a Chiefs fan, you just got to know this stuff gets better by January, not in September and October.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of factors, a lot of things going on right now with regard to the Chiefs offense. And I think there's expectations of seeing even the 2022 version. I do think that they can get back to that version. I do think that they can achieve that kind of efficiency over the course of the season. The offensive line hasn't been particularly good, or at the tackle position. I think the interior has been just fine. I think the tackles have been struggling, and I think there's been some struggles and some lack of confidence at times for Mahomes with what he's getting out of the tackle protection. And if he's able to get more confidently to the top of his drop and get the ball out of his hands, I think good things will happen. And I think you saw glimpses of that today. This was a lot of the Chiefs and a lot of Mahomes beating himself at times in this game, and some of these drives stalling out. But there really wasn't. I mean, there really wasn't a ton of stalled drives. I mean, they averaged 10-yard plays per drive over the first 3 drives of the game. One of them being an interception, then a touchdown and a field goal. They were humming early. They got into a little bit of situational football opportunity to double dip, and 3 plays, 5 yards, punt immediately, and then 4 plays and a field goal.
And that was a drop. That was the Rashee Rice drop where the ball was kind of behind him. So I don't know if I want to call that a full on drop. So but just not clean execution, right? But that's what that drive was. Then you go back into the second half and they immediately take off on 2 long drives again. So then they stalled out a little bit after that, but how much was trying to run out time, right? So again, I think the offense showed you signs of where it can be better. I think they did show you signs. And I think the last thing that we're still looking for is finding some ways to find explosive plays that aren't just get the ball to Rashee Rice and kind of let him go crazy. That seems to be their biggest path to finding explosive plays right now. And then you have this guy, Xavier Worthy, sitting over here. And listen, that first third of the end zone of the game, that looked like I can't wait to watch the All-22. I think you said the same thing too. He looks wide open. It looks like there's a lot of grass you could throw that football to him, and Mahomes put it in the one spot where the trailing cornerback could recover to. And so the pass gets broken up, and then they don't really go back to him until, the final third down of the game where Worthy gets, I'm assuming, confused on a little drive concept. He doesn't just keep running through because he's wide open. He probably thinks he's just going to settle down into the space, but they don't use Worthy at all in their actual passing game. Oh, look at that. Ken's already ready for you, Patrick. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm curious to hear what the play call situation was. I do wonder if they just we've seen Patrick Mahomes throw to grass with Xavier Worthy so much in the preseason and in camp, and you've got these clips of him doing it. And I don't know what the back end of that or the back half of that end zone looked like, but that ball was thrown short, flat, and gave Hughes a chance to undercut it. Now, maybe Mahomes wanted Worthy to play it a little bit differently, go up and get the football and all that stuff. But why not just throw it away? Why not just let him continue to run away from Mike Hughes? He's faster than Mike Hughes. So
you're late. That ball's already got to be there. It's that's even the first part is you're a beat late to that. He's open way before then. I've seen the whole play. So maybe there's a reason.
Yeah.
But doesn't look like there's a reason that he should have been that late. And then if he was, there's other places to put it. But my complaint even comes just like farther than that. Then you go almost 3 whole quarters where he doesn't get a pass within the structure of the action. Like, there's a couple, screens and a couple in the reverse and stuff like that. Like, he doesn't see a single target in the actual structure of the offense from them. And maybe the Falcons are taking it away every time, but like, I've seen enough of him on a replay for somebody else, to highlight for another player, where he's getting some separation. Like, maybe it's not wide open, but he's getting enough separation that you would think he would get a couple targets within the structure of the play. So that's just the next thing I'm looking for, is how do you incorporate him to be actually part of your offense? Or are you going to McCole Hardman him all year, and this isn't a guy that you're going to expect to see something from until next year? I just don't know if this offense can take that next step without finding somebody to provide a more useful stretch or dynamic ability here.
And I do think, to your point though earlier though, Maddie, I do think that there are still some honoring, of him as a vertical stretch player. So like, as long as that's continuing to happen, you continue to fire, you continue to take those shots. We've seen attempts, we've seen them try every single game this year, which is a good thing. And we've seen more production in the vertical passing game this year and more explosive touchdowns dang near than the Chiefs had all of last year. But you're right. Like, they need to continue to find more consistency. They need to continue to find ways. Like, we haven't seen Travis Kelce unleashed. Was better today. 4 catches, 30 yards. So 30 yards along a 17. So that was good to see. But yeah, like, I'm fascinated to see what this evolution of this offense looks like for the rest of the season. Like, there definitely was some positives here. I think as the tackle situation gets figured out, I think that'll be a really good thing for this team, as long as Mahomes feels confident in what the tackles are doing. I think that can go a long way too. It was good to see Juju Smith-Schuster get into the end zone too. Like I think that was kind of a big moment for this team, a big moment. Like a guy that really hasn't been called upon much. Has he had a catch in the first 2 games? I'm not even sure he's had a catch in the first 2 games. He might have had one.
The drop against the Ravens, I don't know if he had a catch or even a target versus the Bengals, but like, he was kind of involved in the Ravens game plan.
Yeah, and he had that drop on the goal line. But like, hey, look, getting Juju Smith-Schuster on a run through and a catch for a touchdown was a big play. And it kind of speaks back to like the downside of, there's no downside to having Juju as your wide receiver 5, but no. there's a built-in trust there that I think exists with with Juju Smith-Schuster, a guy that was his wide receiver 1 on a Super Bowl team, that has he's come back. Mahomes felt comfortable going to him on a 3rd and 7 on a drag route, which like that's a very Juju thing that happened in Kansas City in 2022 when he was here. Was, hey, let's get Juju underneath and let him finish the play beyond the sticks. Happens again. Juju scores. Big score for this team, the last touchdown for the Chiefs. Like, I know there's some stuff that's frustrating, but like, there's little building blocks and there's little hints of things that get me excited too. And getting Juju involved was nice to see as well.
No, it was. And like, they are going to need somebody else. So like, we haven't, I guess, mentioned it too much. Rashee Rice is kind of the guy. I think you found out in this game, and the Chiefs understand that Rashee Rice is their go-to player. He's like who the receiving game has to funnel through. It's not Travis Kelce anymore. And I think Geoff made a great point that you can still go back to the Travis Kelce stuff anytime you want. It might not be as efficient as it once was, as we saw Jesse Bates come up and make like that great play and knock the ball out of his hands on a 3rd down. But like, you can go back to that whenever. Right now, though, from the start of the game, it's Rashee Rice is the first target. He is your number 1 weapon. Find a way to get him the ball as much as you can. And I think you even saw the Falcons figure that out as the game went on. That 3rd down that we're talking about, where Travis Kelce gets the ball knocked away, it's not Travis Kelce getting the double attention. It's not Travis Kelce that's getting walled off from a backer with a safety over the top. It's Rashee Rice trying to run his little crossing route. And that wouldn't happen no matter the coverage call 2 years ago. It would always be Kelce gets the 2-on-1. So even the defense saw it. They felt it was Rashee Rice. That's good until you find a way to properly incorporate Worthy, until you get to the point where you're ramping up Travis Kelce's usage and he's kind of getting back to that playoff form we saw last year. You are going to need somebody else to make a difference in this passing game. It can't just be one catch from Justin Watson every week. So finding a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster who can come in and help provide a little bit of consistency, I do think is going to be big.
How different is the narrative for you though about the entirety of the offense if Mahomes throws that ball a little bit differently to Worthy and Worthy comes down with it? Because like, that's one involvement in the offense everything to me. Yeah. Like I don't know. Like I see the vision for how Xavier Worthy can have more success, and I see the vision for how this offense can be better. And it really was like it could have been as simple as being one better throw away. And like we've seen Mahomes make that throw a lot more consistently than we just saw.
But then what about the next 3 quarters? It's like, that's my only follow-up is like, where does any of that go? Now, we haven't got to see it, right? Maybe the Falcons really are sitting in a really high 2-deep shell like the Bengals were and trying to take it away over and over again. And I don't think Worthy can't run like go routes on the outside like some people might, but it's definitely not going to be his best usage. It's going to be a lot better running these posts and these deep overs. And if you are taking that away with 2 deep safeties all the time, then yeah, that's fine. You find a way to have an impact by just running guys off over and over. So we'll see. Just offensively, that's the last thing I really want. Do we need to go to the defense, or do you have more on the offensive side first?
I want to go to the super chats really quick. We got a few of these. This is from Green. Y'all will say a win is a win, but Mahomes was bad. Don't accept anything into a win. You wouldn't accept in a loss. I mean, yeah, he was bad.
First half was bad.
First half was really bad. Wasn't pretty, but we got the job done. But the lack of speed on defense is a large thing. That's from Prime Time Rambo. Jordan Gardner. We got to find some consistency beyond Rice. Worthy's not ready. Juju is a 2-catch guy, and the rest are scrubs. Corey Peter. Nick Bolton. Yeah, we do need to get back to the defensive side of the football here pretty quick because I think that was easily Bolton's best game of the season and one of the best games I think of his career. Honestly, that was a fantastic performance from Nick Bolton.
Yeah, it was definitely his best game. I mean, he has the big play there to win the game, and I don't want to disparage anything from that. It was a fantastic trigger. He comes downhill, he makes the contact and makes a play. I'm kind of with Geoff there, though. Like, it's the Leo Chenal, and I can't tell everybody who's next to Mike Pennell. And
Pennell and Leo really got upfield.
Yeah, and they stop the flow. It's outside zone. The whole point is to wash everything down and let your running back find the cutback off the backside of it, but that doesn't work when everything just gets crushed. There is no stretch out there, and that leaves no blocker available for Nick Bolton. So it's a great job by everybody in the play, but I think you even go back to some of the screenplays that Nick Bolton was blowing up. You saw him get out to the flat quicker than he had been. I don't know if I want to say fast, but get out to the flat a little bit quicker than he had been in the previous 2 games. And so he actually was making some tackles there rather than letting them get up for first down. So yeah, he's working his way back into game shape. And I think you saw this is the version of Nick Bolton that I think causes a lot of divide in Chiefs fans, because there's still going to be some limitations, but there's enough flashes there that you understand why he's a pivotal part of this defense, why he's so important. It's like you finally got the really good Nick Bolton to go along with the areas that he's maybe a little bit more limited in this game.
But those are the kind of plays that continue to endear people to him, and why he has been a significant factor in this defense having success the last couple years. I will say, like this was a subtle thing, but and this is something I think Nick Bolton might be one of the best linebackers at this in the entire league. Bolton does a fantastic job of helping open up blitz lanes for the blitzer, and so he's very intentional. And I think it was actually on McDuffie's blitz. He actually got one of the linemen to open his hips enough to help clear the way for McDuffie on that blitz in the Super Bowl, if I'm remembering correctly. But in this game, he crosses the face of the guard and actually starts pulling the guard away from where Drew Tranquill's blitzing, and opens the hips enough of that I think it was a guard that just gave Tranquill a clear runway to hit Cousins. So he does these little things that he's better at that than I think. I'm sure when people are talking about some of the little things that he does in the locker room, those are the kind of little things that how he helps his teammates set up for success. That was huge. Just getting the hips of the guard to open up a little bit more and actually pulling the guard a little bit away from where that blitz is coming from. Little things like that are part of the reason that he endears himself to his teammates. And those are the things that I think the coaching staff absolutely adores about him. And that was just those are the small little details. We love that's, I wonder who posted that one, Tucker. But no, I think this was one of Nick Bolton's best games. I saw one of the plays too. It was just subtle. He was not super fast to the flat, but it actually looked like he was kind of slow playing a little bit when it was a little bubble screen out there. They had 2 for 2, and he was kind of playing a little bit of contain, because he kind of trusted his guys to get those blocks and kind of squeeze everything. And so he put himself in a little bit better position by slow playing it out to the flat a little bit more. But no, I think that was one of his better performances. That's absolutely his best performance of the game, or of the of the young season. So it was a good job by him. We're going to take a break, and we will come back to talk more about the defense right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
Fellas, it's the best time of year. Football is back, and we're talking NFL Sundays, college football Saturdays, and that glorious grind of fantasy football lineups. This is where you can take your inner GM and bring it to life by setting that perfect fantasy roster, screaming at the TV, and making last-minute waiver moves that either make you a hero or the guy everyone makes fun of in the group chat. But listen, while you're over here making sure your fantasy team is dialed in, don't let your personal grooming become the guy that gets left on the bench. And let's be honest, fellas, nobody wants to fumble their grooming routine. That's where Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0 comes in, acting as your all-in-one grooming playbook. From keeping things sharp below the waist with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, to taking care of those rogue nose and ear hairs with the Weed Whacker 2.0. Join the over 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by heading over to manscaped.com. Use the code KCSports for 20% off plus free shipping. Trust me, you'll be drafting the real MVP of grooming this season. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code KCSports at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code KCSports at manscaped.com. Stay on top of your grooming game and be ready for anything the season throws your way.
Chiefs win 22-17, advancing to 3-0. And I will say, like, in a time where, you know, a lot of teams are dropping games early. A lot of these presumed contenders, the Baltimore Ravens are 1-2. The Cincinnati Fraud Goals are 0-2. The Chiefs are 3-0. They're staying up on top of some of these teams. They're maintaining their advantage. They haven't dropped one yet. They haven't dropped a silly regular season game yet. This seemed like one that they definitely could have, and it was in a position. This is one of those silly games that they lose sometimes. They didn't lose it today. So, like, I feel good in that regard. Seeing some quotes, Darnell Mooney feeling like we feel like we could have beat them just beating ourselves. At Atlanta, that's not what it was. If any team feels like they should have, you know, that were beat themselves, it was still the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs outplayed you thoroughly. They were the better football team. We have Tucker D. Franklin here, ready to hang out with us a little bit. I know you've been scouring the internet looking for some quotes here, I'm sure. Yeah. You found anything?
I did find something. Let me head over to my bookmark. I've been working actually on a tweet about opponents' yards per carry against the Chiefs. Chiefs' run defense has been pretty good. Derrick Henry, look, this is an exclusive here. This one hasn't hit Twitter yet. I've been running the numbers on the Tucker D. Franklin research department. Derrick Henry 3.5 yards per carry week 1. Zach Moss 2.8 yards per carry week 2. This week, Bijan Robinson, not Brian Robinson, different running back, 1.9 yards per carry. Chiefs' run defense has been pretty darn stout against some starting running backs. Sorry, I did see a tweet from Raheem Morris. I'm thinking of way too many people in my brain right now. Raheem Morris said he was asked about the officiating call, the missed pass interference on Kyle Pitts. He said, "I like my money." So he was not going to comment on the pass interference in the end zone that seemed to be missed on Kyle Pitts. Look, officiating down the stretch, not very good on both sides. There were some really bad calls that went against the Chiefs. Just not very good officiating overall.
Yeah, that was a bad I mean, that was pass interference on Brian Cook on Kyle Pitts in the end zone. Like, we can say it. It is what it is. It was a pass interference. It was missed. But then they come back, and the Chiefs caught a lot of ticky-tack penalties in that final drive to even, like, get the Falcons back down there. So we would have seen how it played out differently. I want to go back to your point, Kent, like, where Darnell Mooney's coming out saying essentially, oh, yeah, we think we could beat them. I mean, to their point, like, yeah, they made some mistakes and they lost by 1 score, though, right? Like, yeah, the Chiefs made more mistakes, but, like, that's not what he's talking about. He's worried about his own mistakes. They could have beat him, and that's what every team that's played the Chiefs so far has said and thought. And, like, that is what makes these games maybe a little less fun as Chiefs fans to watch, is that, you know, you can see how they can be such a good team, but here they are. They're out here playing C+ level football, and they've beaten the Ravens, the Bengals, the Falcons. That could be 2 division winners right there and another wild card team. They've beaten them all while playing relatively mid-level football for what we think their ceiling is. So, like, we always got to keep that in mind, that this team will continue to get better as it goes on, even if these games are very ugly.
Yeah, and it has been a little bit pretty, and I mean, Mahomes is even acknowledging it. Here's a Mahomes saying, "I haven't played very well. I need to get back to my fundamentals and put guys in better position." Have seen that everyone came out of this healthy, no injury news so far, so it does sound like Patrick Mahomes did not suffer some stupid catastrophic injury on a kneel down on that stupid turf in Atlanta. So that's nice. But yeah, I think there's some acknowledgement that this team is, Andy Reid says we got a ton of things to work on, which I think
True.
Andy likes winning games like this. I mean, obviously he'd rather have a win than a loss in a situation like this where it's ugly and you have more, you have more to work on. You have more to kind of go back to the lab with and all that stuff. And there's still plenty of things, that were good for this team. Some other quotes from Patrick Mahomes on the run game without Isaiah Pacheco. I thought the guys did a great job. I think the O-line took it upon themselves to accept that challenge. Patrick Mahomes on Rashee Rice. He's a legit number one receiver. I'm super proud of what he's done already, but I think he has another level he can unlock. So that's good stuff there from Patrick Mahomes. I think it's kind of the tenor that we all anticipated. I think that a lot of those things exist within the theme of this game is, hey, look, good things there's some good things. There's some good, some good to take away with, but there's so much more that this team can do. And they've beat 3 teams. I do think that this is potentially 3 playoff teams still that they've beat, or 2 teams that they've broken that would have been playoff teams if the Chiefs hadn't broken them. So I think there's some context there.
Tuck, what stood out to you? I mean, everybody's heard me talk. What stood out to you, Tuck, when you were...
You know what? That's a great point. I should talk a little bit more. Yeah, Areza's catch there kind of saved the game on that snap. What an athletic play from not Trevor Areza, Matt Areza. You would have thought he was Trevor Areza the way he jumped out the gym to get that football on that snap. Great play there. I was just seeing
deep cut for you Magic fans.
Was a deep cut there. Some people might appreciate that. I hope that they do. But that was a big play. As I'm perusing Twitter right now, Kirk Cousins just had an all-time dad quote here. And I can't tell you how many times my dad has said this one to me, on the way home from a baseball game, tough performance, he says, snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Okay. Really? Kirk, I'm a Kirk fan now. I'm a big Kirk fan now.
Know.
Yeah, you guys are pretty similar.
Hey, we're both Kirkland Kings, man. Just a couple Kirkland Kings out here. I just don't know how you can walk away from that game feeling like you were the team that made the mistakes that cost you. The Chiefs played a C game, man. They played a C game, and you guys still couldn't beat them. So this is what the Chiefs do to people, man. They this is how they walk away feeling demoralized. They feel like they're close. They actually aren't.
I got an interesting one. This one's from Charles Goldman. Chiefs linebacker Nick Bolton says KC ran a similar run play to the one that the Falcons ran on 4th down, which helped them identify and shoot the gap to make the play.
Well, don't call that one, Andy.
Do you think it's one that has Leo in there and a 4-point stance?
Gosh, I hope so, man. I love Leo Chanel.
I do too.
I love him so much. Just his versatility. I made a tweet about it doesn't matter where you put him on the field. I think I put cornerback on there. I think he might be able to cover deep half. Throw him out there. Let's see it. I'm all for it right now. I'm high on the Leo Chanel stock.
There was at least one snap where he was the dime linebacker on the field. There was a couple 3rd and longs where they had 2 linebackers and they were mugging. And I don't think you're confusing Leo Chanel for a coverage backer, but they will put him out there on some dime packages or some 3rd and long plays, whether it's going to be a blitz or whatever. And he's been phenomenal for him. The fullback rep this week wasn't the best. It wasn't as good as last week's, but that's besides the point. We get him out there coming to setting an edge, lining up as a D end, setting an edge in the last play. He does all this great stuff. The Chiefs seem like defensively they have a good pulse on what they want to be. They have some issues nickel, corner, whoever's in the nickel when it's not Trent McDuffie, which is happening less and less frequently, is kind of an issue, right? That might be an issue they have to solve going forward, but they seem to have a really good idea how to use Leo Chanel. They're protecting guys like Justin Reed, Nick Bolton from constantly being in coverage against tight ends. They're still struggling when guys get matched up on them. I mean, Reed's, especially in the past 2 games, has had a rough go, but they seem to know what they are on defense. And that's more than you can say on offense, but that's good. That's a good place to be because Spags is only going to keep getting better as well.
Yeah, no, he definitely I think one thing I think about this a lot when we talk about the defense, and it's the quote from some anonymous defensive backs on this team in 2022, and they're rookies, and they said, "We don't really know what we're doing yet. Just wait until we know what we're doing." They were saying that in the locker room after the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
we've got these guys, like the Chiefs winning one Super Bowl against the Eagles without a group that really knew what they're doing, and you saw them hit the ground running as a defense last year so quickly. Like, it's not the slow build the same way that it's been in the past with some of these Steve Spagnuolo defenses, like during the Tyrann Mathieu era. This team feels more they have more of an identity early and often in the Steve Spagnuolo era, and part of it's probably because of this young secondary being, together and having so much familiarity in this defense. Tucker, you have something for us?
Yeah, I hate to change the gears to go back to the offense, but
good.
Rashee Rice is pretty damn good today, guys. Rashee Rice is he might be a really good football player. According to Next Gen Stats, Rashee Rice gained 75 of his 110 yards after the catch across 12 receptions on 14 targets. Rice also forced 5 missed tackles. He currently leads all players in yards after the catch this season with 200 and leads all wide receivers in missed tackles forced with 9. That is 12 catches on 14 targets, 110 yards and a touchdown for Rashee Rice. 75 yards after the catch today.
Had that spin move working in this one. Rashee Rice is great. You like how they're using him. They're starting to put him in some of the Kelce spots too, where it's just like, hey, we're clearing out a bunch of space and you kind of have this little option route or the ability to just kind of go find space. So it's a good change of pace to see him getting into those spots. They were getting the crap beat out of him in this game because they were, especially in the second half, kind of putting him right there where he was going to be taking a lot of hits to catch the balls, which is fine. Like, if it's your number one wide receiver, that's what you're going to live for yak and over the middle of the field stuff. Like, ask Anquan Bolton, ask Debo Samuel, ask these guys. That's how your game is designed. It's going to happen. But you hope they can find a third pass catcher or, another pass catcher that also helps drag some of that stuff out. They get in the vertical stretch. Now you need to get it horizontal. So you do need, this is where we're going back to Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, somebody else stepping up to just add a little bit more space for him so he can use the yak a little bit more frequently and not always get blasted as soon as he catches the ball, because he took some shots.
Charles Goldman also has another quote here, just talking about the offense. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes, we're calling a lot of plays for Travis and 2 or 3 people are going to him. So that's great that the gravity of Travis Kelce still exists. And I do actually buy that a little bit, that they're still trying. And to be fair, it's not a bad strategy to continue to make Mahomes play without Travis Kelce and force him to rely on the rest of his cast, right? It's not a bad concept. And if the Chiefs can kind of break through that wall with everything else that they got going on, man, they can really start humming a little bit. I do believe that. But also it's been a little tough sledding. It was nice to see them get. It was nice to see them get back to the Travis Kelce well for that big catch on that big drive coming right out of the half. But yeah, I do think again, it's more pieces are coming together. There's building blocks there for this offense to be great. They still just got a lot to work through, and they're not going to have Hollywood Brown, so they got to work through that as well on the fly. I don't know. There's a lot of layers to this right now, but I think there's good things that are coming, but they're not here yet.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Kelce, I think he clearly looks like he's lost a step, but he's still got some plays where he gets open. He can go walk routes and get open because he just has the feel for when to break. He understands how to read defenders. So it's cool that he's drawing so much attention. We don't need to force the Travis Kelce offense, though, right? You can get it when you need to, just kind of take it when it comes. You don't have to force it. And I think that they are finding that groove a little bit. I think you saw it in this game, which again goes back to there's a little bit of more confidence. It's not super obvious. It's not right in your face, but I think there's a little bit more confidence about the offense coming out of this game than especially last week versus the Bengals. And part of it is they figured out how to run it without Kelce getting all the stuff.
This game reminded me a little bit, this is going to sound weird, of the Bengals game from 2023, where the offense was struggling mightily, but they put 25 points on the board, and it was a lot of field goals, but they were making a lot of progress offensively. They're doing a lot of good things to get the ball into scoring position, just weren't able to get the ball in the red zone, but they were putting enough points on the board, kicking a lot of field goals. a little bit felt like that. Like there's so many good things, and it felt like they were really it felt like they were close to just going nuts and going off, and like it felt like they were gonna bust this game open multiple different times because the drives were happening and all that stuff, and then something would happen, and then or they'd be terrible in the red zone, and like the red zone play calling would continue to be like an issue. It's fun to throw to Wanya Morris when it works, and it's just miserable to see Leo Chanel line up in a 4-point stance and then a guard get blown up and pennant. Like it's just like it's exhausting. They just can't line up and play regular football inside 5 yards.
It is kind of sad to see that. They almost get too close. You gotta score. You gotta get the big plays. You gotta score from far away. But as I'm perusing Twitter right now, updates have started to slow from the press conferences. Early lines that I'm seeing from unnamed sports books, 8.5 points favorites for the Chiefs on the road against the Chargers next week.
Slam the Chargers. The Chiefs aren't winning no game by 8.5 points.
I am seeing that from other books too. So I think that could be. I think what might play into that too is Herbert. He re-aggravated his ankle this week, so maybe he doesn't play.
Slater, Bosa, like everybody got hurt for them. Like that. I mean, the line makes sense when you consider who the Chiefs are, who the Chargers are, and who might or might not be playing. It's funny to have a divisional game have a line that wide when you look at how all the Chiefs games have played out so far as well.
100%.
All right, I think it's toast game time. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Oh, you want me to play the video?
No, it's okay.
The thing we do every time? Yeah.
Okay, I'll play it.
Toast game presented by Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon. I am drinking the soft red wheat barrel pick from the KCSN Foundation, which if you went to the KCSN golf tournament, you got a bottle of, and it is absolutely delightful. We did a great pick, if I do say so myself. But yes, Toast Game is presented by Holiday, and if you have someone you want to toast to in the mentions, make sure you are leaving some comments on who you want toasted. Maddie, we'll start with you. Give me your toast game for the night.
Oh boy. I had so many. I was hoping you guys were going to pick some of them off before it's my turn. I'm going to go with Wanya Morris. Comes in at left tackle. He's asked to be the starter. He did have one play where he gave up a really soft corner, and I think Mahomes kind of had to step up and almost kind of got taken out because of it. That happens, right? Like it happens no matter what. But like I thought besides that, you didn't really see Wanya Morris make any mistakes. When you watch him go out there and play, the first thing I noticed is how powerful he is. When he shoots his hands and they make contact, like defenders feel it, they immediately stop in their path. I think that's something that had gotten Kingsley's way a little bit is he doesn't always throw the hands with like an aggression or violence to it. And then once they're removed, it puts him in a bad spot. So I think Morris did a good job providing a more secure safety net of a pocket. And I think it made Mahomes feel a little bit more comfortable. So toast game to Wanya Morris for stepping in. I don't know if it's going to be every game going forward, but I think it's a good one to start with.
Love it.
Cheers.
Tucker, what do you got? I wonder.
Oh, is it my turn?
Always.
Okay, thank you. In games like this, when you face a team where you don't see a whole lot, this is the first time Patrick Mahomes has played a regular season game in Mercedes-Benz Dome. Is that what they're calling it now? They are. The last time he was there, he threw that really deep, far deep ball. You remember that, Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, in the preseason 2018.
Yeah, preseason game. That was the last time he was in the stadium. So a team you don't see a whole lot, sometimes tough to game plan for, sometimes tough to get the boys up for. The boys were up for it. They played well, played hard. When you're playing hard, sometimes things happen. Sometimes things happen. Luckily for the Kansas City Chiefs, nothing happened too seriously for today. So for good health and for Leo Chanel. Sorry, I got to throw Leo Chanel in there because he put his hand in the dirt. He'll put two hands in the sky. He'll put two hands in the dirt. He'll put you on your ass. Leo Chanel. And good health.
I'm going to do a bonus one before I do my real one.
Okay.
Are Arthur Blank for inducting himself
That's
into
so sick.
onto his own Ring of Honor.
I love it. It is the best
power move.
Was so baller. And
then
like
he gave everybody hot dogs.
And like, yeah, giving everybody hot dogs and Coke like it's a first grade reading party. Also pretty awesome. And it being on Sunday Night Football. Like, just what a baller move from Arthur
some others were taking notes. There's some other people around the NFL that were taking notes on how to do this.
David Tepper is has the phone ready to go. He was dialing in the middle of that game.
I don't even know if David Tepper would let David Tepper into the Ring of Honor.
I don't know, like the Panthers fans might boycott that game if that happens. Let's go with Leo Chanel and Samaje Perine filling in for Isaiah Pacheco. We really haven't spent a lot of time talking about them. Isaiah Pacheco ran hard, so did Samaje Perine. 17 carries for Carson Steele for 72 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. Still not a ton of explosive runs, but I think he started to get going a little bit in the second half specifically. I thought he played better. And I thought the run game was really opening up late in the second half. Some good things started happening there. Things started opening up for him. Good job first game filling in for Isaiah Pacheco for Samaje Perine and Carson Steele. Don't think we saw any discernible difference in the performance of the running back room. So that was good on them. That is all.
Matt Araiza again for saving the game with the spinning catch and then a solid punt after it. Yeah, that's big play. And then all the stellar holds. And then Bolton obviously had a great game. Turk Wharton continues on a terror of a season. He's right there with Chris Jones in almost like every metric you're looking at for pressures from D tackles. Obviously, Chris Jones is better and getting double teams. I don't mean to say that, but Wharton has been absolutely excellent in his one-on-ones and everything. So I think he's been their second best pass rusher, bar none. So 2 boxes.
We can go. Why not? We got a little bit left.
Round the horn. Here we go. I got a little bit left. I didn't do a stiff pour this time, but it still hits you pretty darn quick. Patrick Mahomes, 77-22. Pretty darn good in his first 99 games. He will have the best record from a starting quarterback through his first 100 games played. That's good.
I know it was unblocked, but Felix Anudike-Uzomah with the strip sack.
Woo!
Felix, look, when Felix is unblocked, man, he's pretty damn good. When they don't block him.
I said this in the Discord, okay? No other defensive end on this team is getting to him that quickly if they're unblocked.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, it's unblocked. And there wasn't a high level of skill, but no other defensive end is getting to the quarterback as fast as Felix is when in that situation. So all Spags has to do is pull the right strings, win the rush for him via the scheme, and then he becomes a weapon.
Hey, we'll take it. Mike Pennell, again, for his role in stuffing that 4th and short play.
Big Mike.
And Leo. I mean, you already brought Leo out. I don't know if we got anything else.
I just want to say, I think Leo Chanel, I don't know if we mentioned him. Leo Chanel, I want to mention him again.
Chanel.
Yeah. Chanel. No, it's Chanel. Do you want to do this right now? Okay.
Not right now.
No.
What if it's Chanel? And you guys are both wrong.
No. I know.
Chanel.
I know I'm right. That's the thing is that I could not be more confident.
It's definitely Chanel.
Chanel.
You are so wrong, and it's okay. That's fine. You can be wrong. Let me turn up the volume on the second computer I have here.
Are we really doing this right now?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you did it
because you wanted to act like you were right. That's why we're doing this right now, Kent. That is exactly
perfect.
Why.
This is great.
This is the
Leo Chanel.
What was that?
Leo Chanel.
One more time.
One more time.
Leo Chanel.
Thank you, Leo. Appreciate it.
That's going to do it for the KCSN post-game show. Chiefs win 22-17, advance to 3-0. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting KC Sports Network. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
Kent and Kirk are the same, just taking L's.